Thank you, Hurricane Florence, for ruining Butts Talk last week. No worries, though. I'm back in the studio for week 4, so thank you for joining me this evening. I'm Nick Butts. Welcome to Butts Talk. Let's dive right into the week 4 slate. Here we go, number 8, Notre Dame at Wake Forest. Notre Dame favored by 7 points, a touchdown on the road against their first ACC opponent of the year. Highly intriguing matchup, in my opinion. Though they're undefeated, I'm not buying Notre Dame right now. Their offense, along with quarterback Brandon Wimbush, has been nothing more than mediocre. That said, their defense has looked very solid, holding each of their opponents to 17 points or fewer. Wake, on the other hand, has been about the opposite. Solid on offense, not too good on defense. And I think Notre Dame has way too much talent to be playing so poorly, and I think that's finally going to catch up to them this week. So you heard it here first, folks. The Irish will leave Winston-Salem, North Carolina, with their first loss of the season. Wake pulls off one of the biggest upsets of the season this Saturday. Mark my words. Number 22, Texas A&M at number 1, Alabama. The Tide, a overwhelming 26-point favorite at home at Bryant-Denny. And I want to pick A&M so bad, but I just can't. I can't bring myself to do that. And honestly, if I picked A&M to win, Alabama would probably just beat them worse. I'd like to think that the Aggies would keep it somewhat close, but I think Alabama will eventually pull away in the end. They won't cover that 26-point spread, however. And also, look out for Kellen Mond on Saturday afternoon for the Aggies. He had the best game of his career against Clemson. He threw for a career high, about 420 yards, and he has the potential to do some damage to the Tide defense. So watch out for Kellen Mond. He could be the difference if Texas A&M wants to go up to Tuscaloosa and win. Number 14, Mississippi State at Kentucky. Mississippi State, a 9-point favorite on the road in Lexington. Now, at first glance, the A&M Alabama game may seem like the SEC game of the week. However, it's not. The SEC game of the week is right here in Lexington. Now, here's a chance on the national spotlight for Kentucky to show the nation that they are legit. Now, I believe Mississippi State is a very good team, and Nick Fitzgerald is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, no doubt. The Wildcats, however, have the secret weapon, the most underrated player in the country, Benny Snell, possibly the best running back, if not the best player in the SEC. Now, Kentucky already got past Florida. Florida always seems to be that Achilles heel for Kentucky year in and year out. I mean, it had been for the past 31 years. But they've beaten the Gators already. There's no turning back for UK. I've got the Wildcats all the way, making their presence known nationally. Kentucky, they're going to be in that top 25 next week, folks. I'm telling you. Crazy stuff happening this season. Number 7, Stanford at number 20, Oregon. Stanford, a 2.5-point favorite on the road in Eugene. Here early in the season, here's the Pac-12's one-time chance to be in the national spotlight. Pretty much. So this, out of all seriousness, is actually a pretty good matchup. The game being in Eugene makes it even better. It's a great atmosphere there. College game day is going to be there. It'll be a lot of fun. And I'm confident that Stanford is a pretty good team and a legitimate playoff contender. However, I'm not too sure about Oregon. They've gotten away with playing 3 pretty mediocre opponents the past 3 weeks. And they started off in the preseason AP poll, so that's really the only reason they're at 20 right now. This game, though, it should be an offensive battle. KJ Costello for the Cardinal, he's as good as anyone when he can get it going, and Justin Herbert for Oregon is probably the best quarterback of the conference. Now, obviously, the winner of this game is sitting right atop the Pac-12 with a very good playoff chances. The loser, because the Pac-12 sucks, is all but eliminated from contention. Now, I think being at home, about 50,000 strong there in Eugene, will really help Oregon chances. That is a loud stadium, especially on a Saturday night. They're ready to make a comeback, and the comeback starts Saturday night in Eugene. Give me the Ducks over the Cardinal and pull that hype train out of the station. Number 18, Wisconsin at Iowa. You might be wondering why I picked this game, but I mean, you look at it now. This is actually a pretty good matchup. Wisconsin is favored by 3 on the road. Now, the first thing I'll say about this game is that by the time it's over, we won't be hearing too much about Wisconsin for the rest of the season. Wisconsin has not proven anything to say that they're a good, and I put good in quotes, team. Not to mention they did lose to BYU last week. Now, it'll be tough to watch Wisconsin drop 2 games in a row, but I think it'll be pretty cool to see Iowa back in the top 25 next week. Honestly, I wouldn't even call this an upset at this point because this is uniform for Iowa. I mean, ranked teams go in there. I mean, it would be even better if Wisconsin was still top 10, but I think they figured out the way around that. You can't lose in Kinnick Stadium as a top 10 team if you're not a top 10 team. So maybe that's why they lost to BYU last week. Anyway, though, Hawkeyes win. End of story. So heading into next week, here's my top 4. Now, everyone, just, relax, because what I'm about to say is going to, shock you. Number 1, LSU. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Clemson. Number 4, Georgia. Look, I know what you're thinking. LSU at number 1, I shouldn't have to justify that. No one has done more than they have at this point in the season. They've knocked off 2 top 10 teams, not at home, both games away from home. While I think that the other 3 teams that I put below, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, are indeed better than LSU, think if the playoff committee had to pick their top 4 today, LSU would undoubtedly be number 1 due to their body of work. They are the only playoff contender that has proven themselves so far by beating not 1, but 2 quality opponents. That's something that Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma lack. Yes, they all have solid wins against Power 5 teams, but none match what LSU has done. Now, when Georgia visits LSU in mid-October, huge matchup. I think that'll be a top 4 matchup. They'll both be undefeated. That's going to be a monster game. I mean, I'm excited for that one. That could end up, if we're looking back, first week in December, we look back, trying to figure out these playoff teams. It's going to be a game that we look back at and be like, okay, Georgia beat LSU, so they should get the upper edge. LSU beat Georgia, whatever happens. This game is going to mean so much to the playoff race in mid-October. So anyway, my Heisman pick through 3 weeks, it's simple. He's made it simple for us. It's Kyler Murray. It's like Baker Mayfield never even left Oklahoma. He is literally, not even kidding, he has replicated Baker's numbers. He's 1 yard short, but he has, it's insane what he's done there, just through 3 games. 3 games, his first 3 starts ever. And he's literally done exactly what Baker Mayfield did. Baker Mayfield, Heisman winner, and possibly, no, not even possibly, definitely one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time. Kyler Murray is doing just what he did last year through 3 games. So, if Kyler keeps playing at this level, Oklahoma will undoubtedly make the playoff again. And yes, Kyler will definitely bring the Sooners back a second straight Heisman Trophy. That's only been done once before. Well, that's all I've got for this evening, but thank you all for listening. Now, make sure to tune in next week because we have a huge slate of games in Week 5 to discuss. Ohio State travels to Penn State. You don't want to miss the show. This is Butts Talk. I'm Nick Butts. Good night.